So today we will start on business rules overview, and then after overview we can start on our business rule lab session as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let us start from overview part. So what is a business rule? So now have you heard about business rule or have you read about it? What it is? What exactly it does?
Getting the data from server side to perform, I think, yeah, the operations displayed, inserted, updated, deleted.
Okay, so business rule, one of the most important scripts we generally use in our ServiceNow projects or in ServiceNow system. So many times this business rule will be utilized for our requirement fulfillment or some customization scripts, right? So this is one of the major scripting side where generally it is used much, mostly 50 to 60% times people are using business rules, right? So what business rule is? So generally it is a type of JavaScript which runs on server side, and it is executed when a table is queried or a record is displayed, inserted, updated, or deleted. So whenever we perform any query to a table, or when any record is inserted, updated, deleted, or retrieved from the database, at that point of time, what we have to execute as part of our script. At that point of time, whatever execution we are doing, such as changing values in fields, or we are executing or processing some scripts and getting some data from backend tables. So this is called business rules. All right. And every execution as part of business rule happens through server side only, because it is querying the database, whatever database can be a table, suppose incident, problem, change, or any table in the system. All right. And it executes faster generally in terms of server side, and it returns the result as soon as possible. If suppose a script is very less lines of codes are written, it will execute your script very fast. All right. And many times, like business rules, generally we don't have so much big lines of code executing on business rule side, although we can write that much of codes. But so there is something here, many times it's a good practice we use, or we follow some good practice while writing our server side scripts. So there is another example, that is glide ajax or script include, which I will explain you in future session. But for now we will keep it aside. But in terms of business rule, we generally try to write very small lines of codes, right? Because if suppose we are querying some querying some table, and it is taking huge amount of time because our lines of codes are huge. There we are calling 4 5 glide records, or we are fetching the records from multiple tables. So there can be a chance your business rule might be running very slow, or there might be a case also it's not required to use business rules, because business rules will be executing when a record is inserted or updated. So each time the record is updated and your business rule is running with no purpose, and those huge lines of code will be executing, and the performance will be slow, right? So yeah, so did you get what
Yeah.
business is?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see here our database, we have here two records are displayed, like number incident number and incident number again here. So there are
Suicide.
two, yeah, there are two records here. They just mentioned just example here. Okay, so my database might be containing huge amount of records for particular incident table. Okay, and together we have collection of tables. So which have their like sysdb object, right? So those are the database which contains all the tables. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move further and see like how business rule run or when business rule run. So if you see the example here, so there is a table, we have to select problem. Like for this scenario, we have selected a problem table and name they have provided problem reopen. So they would be writing some conditions and then executing our business rule. So here, if you see, watches the database for record access. So first of all, we have to select the table from which table we have to execute this business rule, or we have to execute our server side script. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you see trigger specifies when to run. So trigger means at what point of time this business rule will run. So here there is a when means before update. So how it will execute before any update on this problem table. This business rule will run. Okay, but if you see there are more conditions they have specified apart from when to run. We have filter condition as well. On specific filtered records, we have to execute this business rule. Problem state is one of resolved or closed and active is false. At that point of time, this business rule will execute. All right.
Yeah.
So we have when to run here, and then next slide. If you see they have mentioned about filter conditions here. And if you see there is one more condition as role condition. So like it will check whether the user is having this particular role or not while this business rule is executing. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the complete explanation of when to run filter condition, which I have already mentioned you. Okay. Now you will see what all activities or events this business rule will run. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a flow of business rules. At what point of time which type of business rule will be executed, and this is the sequence of our business rule execution which you are seeing on the screen. And this is one of the important flow which you have to remember related to our business rule execution. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you see there are two colors of boxes. One is this green and one is this light blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you see these are the executions like backend executions, but these are the type of business rule. If you see before query rule, display rule, before rule, after rule, async rule. So these are the business rule types. Like this way, the business rule types or business rules can be written in ServiceNow system. All right.
Yeah.
So first of all, what will happen? First of all, we will be having one of the database where we will just query the system. Like we will query that database. Suppose I will take an example of incident table. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So suppose we are having our incident table and now we have to query our table. So suppose here we are performing such an event, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as we are doing a database query from here to here, if suppose we have to come from this point to this point, now what we have to do before database query, our script should be running. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose we are, I will give you an example. Suppose first of all, what will happen when we click on incident, we will get all incident, right?
Yep.
If you see there is in filter navigator in incident, I will show you right now. So suppose this is incident, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm clicking on this all incident. I will click on this all. So now what is happened? I have clicked here.
Fetching
That
records.
that means I have clicked system query here, user
Yeah,
or
yeah.
system query, and I have performed certain event. Just clicked on all. That is the performing an event from my side. But what happened? As soon as I have clicked here, it has retrieved me the list of incident. So this place, what has happened? This our before query rule is executed. All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So as soon as we have clicked on certain event or action and we are getting something from the query, so that is before query rules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have any
Yeah.
questions
Yeah.
here?
No, no, fine.
Because when I will give you demo, you will also understand more at that point of time as well. Because we can restrict those query records based on roles or based on certain conditions, or if suppose I am from the location Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can make a query business rule that way, so that I will only see the Australian incidents.
Yeah. Assigned to me, like,
Yeah, that kind of thing only. But
yeah.
what will happen? You will click on all, you will see only Australia incident. That's it.
Mm,
If suppose
mm,
there are 20 incident for me for Australian location, so I will see only 20. Whether I will click on all, then also I
mm.
will see 20 only.
Yeah. Condition. Yeah.
Yeah, because I am doing certain, I am restricting the query. I am
Mm.
restricting the database query. Like I should view only this amount of records. That's it, based on certain conditions. Okay.
Yeah.
So this part you have understand, like first what we have done, we have performed certain event and then we have queried the database query and we have fetched and we are fetching the records. Suppose we have already fetched the list of records. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now after database query, what happens? Our display business rule runs. Display means as soon as we click on certain records. Suppose I have clicked this way and opened this record. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now what this the activity right now I have performed, it is a display business rule will be executing here. That's it. As soon as suppose this form is loaded, at this form load only our this display business rule will be running.
Yep.
Okay. So how this executes? Suppose display business rule. Suppose we have to get some value. Suppose we have already created this incident. All right. And this display business rule will be utilized with the help of client script.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So using our client script, we can use this display business rule to be executed. And this display business rule, what it will return? Suppose like I have opened this incident, this 21. Okay. And now suppose I have to get callers manager or callers department or callers location. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Only one field. Suppose I have to pick from caller. Okay. So now what will happen? I will just get the display. I will get the value of this caller in our display business rule. Okay. I will fetch this value. Okay.
Yeah.
This dynamic value I will fetch and I will do the dot walking and I will get the callers department there. And
Mm.
that department, whatever department I will get after dot walking, that we will store in our variable. There is a separate variable with which we use with display business rule g underscore scratchpad.
Mm-mm.
So
Yep.
I will show you in lab session how we can utilize that. Okay, and then we can call this display business rule in our onload client script.
Mm.
Okay, so it is another way of calling our server side script from client side.
Yep.
Okay, so that is one of the way from which we can call our server side script using client side script.
Yep.
Okay, because you know that client script is executed on browser level, right? It will not be fetching the records from server side, right?
Mm.
That's why there is a concept for display business rule. Okay, if
Yep.
suppose we have to fetch any value from database just after the database query, like as soon as the record is presented to us, at that point of time, whatever the display value will be there, we can fetch it using our display business rule, and we
Yep.
can utilize it on other place such as client script. All right,
Yep.
or we can display some message also. Suppose on the form we have to display some message, so we can display some message as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can set the value also based on our database, based on our display values. All right.
Yep.
So this will be also used, but not much, because generally people use glide ajax or script include for calling server side script using client side.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
So important one is this one, which I have mentioned you before query one, but we should have knowledge for all of them. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So our display business rule is completed. So do you have any question in these two types of business rule?
Fine. Yeah.
If you have, you can ask me, because you this is like some confusion also, confused topics also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I'm okay.
Yeah, because in lab you will understand very good.
Mm-mm.
Okay, this is just a pictorial representation, so you understand in a single view all types of business rules. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now, as soon as we have executed our display business rule, now what happens? Now we have a form submit after whatever is values and all we have updated on our form. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
we have form submit. Now, sorry. Now what will happen here? Form submission. So there is two types of thing forms of after form submission. So there is before rule and after rule. Before rule is what? When as soon as the form is submitted. Okay, but it is not some, but the value, the change is not committed to database.
Mm-hmm.
Before that only we have to execute our script.
Mm-hmm.
Form is submitted, but before database commit, we are executing one of the rule that is called before business rule.
Yeah.
Okay, because we are submitting the form, suppose we have entered some of the values in some of the fields. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now based on those new values, we have to make some change before applying to the database commit.
Yeah.
So we can execute those all execution in this business rules, before business rules. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as necessary changes is completed, then this changes will be committed to database.
Yeah.
Okay, after that only database commit will happen. All right, and
Mm-hmm.
now there comes after business rule. Now what this after business rule will do? After business rule will execute when we have submitted the form and database commit has also completed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After that, our this after business rule will run. After the value is committed to database, after that our rules will be executing. Okay.
Yeah.
So how you might be thinking like after form submission and database is committed now, why we are executing this after business rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
There might be a question, right? So I will tell you here some of the case, one of the case. Suppose we have incident table.
VIP
Okay,
color.
not that. I will tell you one that can also be an example, but
Uh-huh.
because based on caller, suppose we have to update user table, but that case cannot be a good case because user table is updated by the system already generally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is some not one of the good case, but I will tell you how it will execute. Suppose we have incident record. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we have, suppose we have 5 incident tasks created for that incident.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what we have to do, suppose our incident parent incident is resolved. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and in parent incident, suppose we have added some of the comments like the incident is no longer required, we have fixed the issue. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now at that point of time we will just do the database commit, and in backend it will update all the incident tasks with comments whatever we have posted in our incident form. So
Mm-hmm.
incident we can close it instantly, but on backend we can execute our rule so that all the incident task is updated one by one.
Mm-hmm.
So what, why that is required? Because it will not take time to complete the incident, right? We will just complete the incident instantly, and after rule will execute those comments in all the incident task, so that it will just reduce the time for incident resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can tell, suppose we have to update other tables using the current table rule, so we can use this after business rule here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it will be executed just after the database update. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as we have committed something on database, this after business rule will run instantly.
Yeah.
Okay, and now if you see, there is one more rule, that is asynchronous rule, right? And
Mm-hmm.
after business rule can also be called synchronous rule because it is executed just after the database commit. Okay,
Yeah.
but asynchronous business rule will run, but not just after the database update. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it will be running on our queue. Some job will be generated on backend and things will be happening in a queue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and why there is more chance or more possibility people are using async business rule rather than after business rules? Why? Because after business rule, just after the database commit, this after business rule will be running. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
it will take some time, and you will be holded for some time for running this rule, right? But in async business rule, you don't have to wait for anything. You just have to update your records and just go away from that record. All the rules which will be executing after database commit, that will be running in a job. So there will be 4 5 jobs that will be triggered on backend and it will be executing without impacting your current work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have any doubt on before, after, and async rules?
Fine. Probably after demo, I will be more.
Yeah. So there might be confusing here
Yeah.
after and async, right?
Yep.
So I will show you the difference. All right. So I think this pictorial representation is good
Mm-hmm.
to understand in a like all types of business rule.
Mm-hmm.
And now we will proceed further and see each of the business rule, how it will be executed and what exactly it does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you will see one of the business rule type is before query rules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now here you will see that is same representation is here also.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in this place right now. Before query rule, as soon as we are querying the system, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we are retrieving the records from query rules, or we are querying to the database. So if you see executing before a query is sent to the database, okay, and they have mentioned example also. Suppose prevent user from one location seeing CIs from another. So this can also be one of the example. And I have also told you example how we are viewing the incident for particular location, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is same thing they have mentioned. Prevent users from one location seeing CIs from another. So here they are restricting, like they should see only the those CI which is related to their location. Okay, so here they are telling, suppose I am from India, so I will see only those CIs which is present in India. I will not see the CIs which is present in Australia or any other locations. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so same kind of example I have also given. We are restricting the number of incident. Suppose I am from Australia and I should see only the Australian incident. So it is same kind of example here. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So this is like before query rule. So we will get a query when we are sending something to the database, some action or event.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we are retrieving the list of data. So there we are seeing how this query before query BR is executed. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's move further after database query. Now you see we have passed this before query and now we are on display business rule. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you see this business rule execute after the database is returning the data. Okay, you will see after the data is read from the database and before the form is presented to the user. Okay, so this display business rule will run at that point of time. And if you see, I have already mentioned like it is primary purpose is to populate the G underscore scratchpad global object. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the example they have given client script with access to data from other records. So they will be executing or utilizing this display business rule with this G underscore scratchpad object and then passing those values to these client script. Okay.
Yep.
So display business rule executes and populates G underscore scratchpad object. And this object is passed to this client script to get the data from other records. Okay.
Yep.
So this is the main purpose for this display business rule. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can proceed further after form submission. So we have after form submission before we have before rule, after rule async rule. So let's move to our before business rule. So before business rule, how this will be executed after the form is submitted and before it is committed to the database. So it is called before business rule. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose we have to execute after form submission and before record is updated in the database. I told you the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you will see they have provided an example populate closed by with the name of currently logged in user. So you have noticed this thing like there is a closed by field in many of the forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might have seen in your other place also, like in GRC module you might have seen some closer whenever certain things are closed or ticket is closed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a closed by field. Generally it is populated as soon as we are closing any task, right? So this closed by will be populated before the database is committed, before any database commit is performed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
why this is why we are doing this? Because we don't have to commit our database record two times. Just before database update, they will send one more field closed by. Update this closed by field as well while you are updating another other fields. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we are using this before query business. Sorry, before business rules. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have after business rule. After business rule is executed after the form submission and the record is updated in the database. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you see, they have provided an example: cascade changes made to the approval field of a service catalog request to the requested item attached to that request. So suppose we have made some changes on approval field of a request form, and now same kind of update is sent to the requested item attached to that request. So at that point of time, we would be executing after business rule. So after business rule will make changes to related tables, whichever tables are related for your current record. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point of time, it will send the data from one table to another for updation. So at that point of time, we are using after business rule. Okay.
Yeah.
And now last we have async business rule. So I have already told you it is running asynchronously as like jobs. So you see run asynchronously as scheduled jobs. So job will be generated as soon as our asynchronous business rule is executed. So our the script is running as a scheduled job. Okay, it will be running as a job.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this asynchronous jobs would be like SLA calculation or notify subscribers when CI are affected by an incident. So this is just two example they have just mentioned SLA calculations. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because this should be asynchronous. It should not be like it will depend on some executions, right?
Yep.
So it should be done in some time so that it doesn't impact any work happening on the system. Because there might be a case some user will do something and they try to execute something and it executes for longer time, and now he will sit idle for a couple of minutes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he will wait for certain things to happen. But in terms of async rules, you will be executing things how you are doing it in a faster way.
Yep.
Okay. Now after async business rule, so now we will see what business rule execute or what business rule actions, business rule trigger actions do. So if you see, we have actions here, like we can perform certain actions. So we have to move in actions tab. Initially, we have seen on when to run, we have to define conditions and roles or when to run business rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now in actions, we can define or we can set the value based on certain conditions. So if you see active is setting to true. And now I will show you. Initially, I have shown you this. Here they have written when to run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here they are, what they are doing is like they will just open the problem record, reopen the problem record. And now what the condition they have used before update, problem state is one of resolved closed, active is false. Okay, active is false. And at that point of time, what they have to do in action, they are just setting the active to true so that problem will get reopened. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here scripting is not required to set a value or add a message. So the time we most of the time it will come like you have to just set the value or just add the message on the form. So it's not required to write a script. You can directly configure the set field value and messages here only. Okay.
Yep.
You don't have to move to this advanced part. Advanced part is for writing the script
Mm-hmm.
or updating something bigger or multiple field value changes. So we can define in this advanced section. All right.
Yeah.
And now you can see this advanced section. We can write certain script here and we have access to this current or previous sorry parameters. So you can use this current previous method to get the current value or previous value for that particular field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can see more complex conditions and actions can be scripted here. So suppose when to run also we can define some conditions and in advanced part also we can define some conditions here.
Mm-hmm.
So they have defined previous state is less than equal to 3 or greater than equal to 6. Okay.
Yeah.
So as to reduce the scripting logics, they have added the condition under this field. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the execute rule function template is automatically inserted into the script with two arguments. One is the current and previous. Okay. So current means you will get the current value of that field or any field of that form, and previous dot state it will get the old value. Okay.
Yeah.
Suppose for a state we current value is new state value. Okay. And somehow we have changed it to in progress, and now here we will see the current state will be in progress and previous state would be new for a state field. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Similarly it can be for other field also same way. All right.
Yeah.
So these three things we have to do here, like when to run and we have to put actions, and this advanced part will be activated when you mark checkbox on this advanced checkbox. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you uncheck it, this advanced part will be removed from here. It will be executing based on when to run and actions tab only. All right.
Yep.
All right, so let's move further. So now we will see server side global variables, like what kind of data can be viewed in our business rule. So like local variables declared in a script. Suppose we are declaring some variables like we are getting some value and we have stored in our local variables. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that variables can be used, and now they have predefined server side global variables. One is current, one is previous, one is g underscore scratchpad. Okay, and this g underscore scratchpad will be used only for display business rules. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be used with a client script. Here you are seeing it will be used with the client script only. So this scratchpad will only be used for display business rule. Current previous will be utilized in other business rules. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see here they are executing display business rule, and they have fetched the created by and caller. Okay.
Yep.
And now you will see we are getting direct access to field for related records. So suppose we are getting color current dot caller ID. So they will get the sys ID. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they will get the sysID for that. And now suppose they are getting current dot caller ID dot department, then also they will get the sysID. But they have used current dot caller ID dot department dot name, so they will get the display value like sales. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you might have used current dot caller ID dot department, you will only get the sysID.
Yep.
But we have selected dot walking for that particular name field, so we will get this sales current caller department name. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is just an example of showing how dot walking works in server side scripts.
Yep.
And now we can see how dot walking usually works here. If you see here, we have an advanced part. Suppose we are writing current dot assigned to dot building dot contact dot city. Now you will see here they have defined, they have breaked into assigned to dot building, and inside building they have contact, and inside this contact they have city, and they are fetching this city here. You have
Mm-hmm.
seen this tree structure, so you will see whether you are executing it correctly or not using this tree structure in right side of the script. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this thing will happen and this syntax will be automatically inserted as soon as you click on this city place. This script will be auto created for you. Okay, you don't have to glide record, you can get the values from multiple tables. So if you see assigned to, we are dot walking building, then dot walking contact, then dot walking to city,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't in a single line we have executed multiple things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So this way you can utilize the dot walking for any, for reference field, not for any field. Only for reference field this dot walking will work. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And now you will see how we are debugging the business tool. So we have multiple debugging tools for server side debugging. Like we have glide system logging methods. Like we can display the messages like whatever script we are executing, we use the logging methods. Like we just log the things or the executions, whether they are executing the right thing or not. And they have we have debug business rule module also, where we can see our business rule executions while we are executing our script. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we do have a script debugger, which is like the script debugging which we do in our scripting itself only, where we have scripting that place only we can debug our script and we can see what all errors we are getting. Okay, and this script tracer is also the same like a script debugger. You can debug the script on your scripting area wherever you're writing your script, and console debugger. So you can see, you can debug business rule using our browser console debugger. Okay, we do right click and inspect element, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point of time also we can check the script debugging, and this red and violet thing generally happens like this at this section. This kind of debugging happens. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you will see some error, then you will get some error here on some lines of code, you will see red.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like you have to correct your script. Okay, so that is like a script debugging. All right, and we have multiple rules in ServiceNow, but try catch is also JavaScript debugger, but that will not be used much in our ServiceNow scripting. Try catch is definitely good, but these things are used when we use purely programming languages like Java or .NET, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point of time, try catch is the important thing, but not for ServiceNow JavaScripting. Okay,
Yep.
they can use it, but it is not used much. People are not using to debug their
Mm-hmm.
script using try catch thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now you can see various debugging or glide system logging methods. So you can see we sends debugging information to the system log. So these are the methods which we use to send our information log to the system logs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
gs.info, gs.log, gs.error, gs.warning, gs.debug. So this thing we can send message in our system log, and we can check in our system log whatever information we are sending through these methods. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now these are the methods. Those information are displayed on the form. You will see sends debugging information to the top of the form. So these add info message, add error message we are sending, we are getting information on form level itself. Okay.
Yep.
So sometime there might be a case like it is required to send the log to the system, or some of the time we can use debugging methods or debugging error messages or info messages in form itself. Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends on condition to condition how we have to utilize these methods. All right.
Yep.
And now you can see we have a script debugger here. One of the script debugger here they have. You can select here and then you can open in separate browser window with the script tracer and the session log. So I mentioned you also like a script debugger or a script tracer we are using under this scripting section only,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you
Yep.
can see, so this will open a new tab and you can try some more things and then you can write back the original script here. Okay, all right.
Yep.
So we would be seeing our demo on next session for business rules,
Mm-hmm.
because that will also take a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So next session, I think it will be stretched somewhat because I will show you 5 examples for each
Mm-hmm.
type of business rules. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one of the one of the business rule might take 15-20 minutes while we are executing as part of while we are running our labs. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it might take 1.5 hours to complete our demonstration for business rule. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.